I'm gonna read you something fascinating and a little bit sad that I recently saw in a coin collecting forum. Quote, I am almost certain that my coin collecting led to my divorce. I purchased a $900 coin and my wife found out, then flipped out. Despite my best efforts to assure her that I could easily sell the coin for a maximum $100 loss at any time, she continued to berate me. Her hissy fit finally prompted me to speak my mind. I basically said, what is the difference? I spent $900 on a piece of metal, but I also spent thousands of dollars on you, and you aren't worth a damn. As I recall, the divorce proceedings followed shortly after that conversation. Wow, holy sh**, that's rough! And you know what? I thought that was a particularly bad case, but the more I dug into this subject of spouses angry at their coin collector husbands, the more I found examples of really nasty fights and some pretty absurd situations. Examples like, once more, quote, I have a coin shop and for an extra $5, I print you a second, fake receipt, stating a much lower price for what you just purchased, so your wife doesn't gouge your eyes out, or upon every purchase, she shows clear disdain towards my use of money on what she considers a waste of time. She continually asks me their value and immediately follows up with, so, when are you going to sell them? To which my reply of, never, is not well received. And I mean, I'm pretty sure it's not like that with everyone, but there seems to be a trend here. So, statistically, the vast majority of coin collectors are male. 95% at least. It's very one-sided. And there seems to be an unusually high number of conflicts between these men and their spouses. Now, why would that be? And even more important, are they justified in getting angry at us? Should you feel bad for spending money on money you can't spend? So let's have a chat and a bit of a reality check. By the way, I would absolutely love to read in the comment sections what you have to say. Is your significant other supportive of your collecting hobby? Does he or she give you a hard time? I'm actually fascinated about your responses to that, so please let me know what you think. So let's start by making one thing crystal clear. Dude, you are not doing anything wrong in collecting coins. Period. That's such a beautiful hobby then, and there are so many worse ways of spending your money. And I'm saying that up front, not to stroke your ego or anything, but to mark a clear ground where, you have the right to stand on. Scientifically, collecting anything, it's a way you express yourself. It's one of our ways of leaving a physical mark in the world. There's this interesting theory that the collecting behavior humans display is the result of a mix between our monkey brains urging us to gather as many resources as possible, so a purely animalistic urge, and then there is the creative side of it, which comes out of that gigantic brain we have inside our heads. And what we collect, it's literally your personality taking shape in a material manifestation outside of the constraints of your body. It's actually very interesting. It has some parallels to why people make art. Making art for most people is expressing things you have inside your head, inside your mind, through a medium into something external to you. And collecting is similar in that way. What you collect is this manifestation of what's going on inside your head and your thoughts. And it's actually beautiful. It's a physical manifestation of what makes you, you. So when someone tries to shame you for that, it's not just, I don't like your hobby or collecting that stuff, it's pointless. It's more serious. It's actually more like, I don't like a piece of who you are. And I mean, that's not okay. You are allowed to enjoy things. You are allowed to be excited. You're allowed to manifest what goes on inside your head and your heart, in this wonderful assortment of finely curated objects that you own. I mean, stop and think about this for a second. There are so many other hobbies out there that don't really add much to your personality or your knowledge. They just relax you for a while. I think I've never met a coin collector who wasn't at least mildly entertaining to talk to. In most cases, they're very interesting people. I might not even be particularly interested in what someone I'm talking to collects, but just seeing the sheer passion, that pride, that spark they have in collecting what they collect, and seeing the way they describe it, that's on itself an energizing experience. I genuinely do not know where the idea that coin collectors are boring comes from. So yeah, I wanted first to plant that solid base that there's nothing wrong with you collecting, despite what other people might say. But that being said, we still live with other people. Your coins will not be crying at your funeral, and relationships work best when there's balance. I mean, none of that happy wife, happy life thing where you must bend to all your significant other's needs, but just stomping your feet on the floor and saying, I do what I want. It's kind of childish as well. So let's try being empathetic here. When these people give us a hard time, let's not even get into the merits of whether they have a point or not. What are they trying to communicate? Generally, this criticism doesn't come purely from selfishness. I try being optimistic about people, and normally these fights come from a lack of skill in communicating concerns, rather than actually they thinking that your hobby is dumb. And if they genuinely do think your hobby is dumb, you shouldn't be with this person. So, these concerns tend to cluster around a few themes. Financial security of the household, especially if you have children, time and attention, and also a need for transparency and control of what goes on in your relationship. Security is generally the most common topic, the main catalyst for these conflicts. And I mean, for many people, money represents safety. I know that's your money, but anxiety over resources is a human constant, and we just need to accept people close to us will feel it, and very few people in a romantic relationship can truly separate in their minds what is yours and what is theirs. Relationships invariably become a melding of the lives of two people, and that includes their possessions. What it means is that a purchase that looks perfectly reasonable to you, that perfectly fits your fun budget, and it doesn't represent any danger to your family finances, it may register as a risk to your partner. Let's remember, you are the one, doing the research, you have awareness of the market and of what a fair price is. You understand there's a resale value to coins, especially coins. They're very liquid collectible. They sell much easier than other items. But of course, the other party can't see any of that. They may only see your resources turning into objects, and that can trigger anxiety. Then there's a tension, and this one is tricky. We often look at money spent in our collections as the main catalyst of conflict, but especially in the case of ancient coin collecting, it can be a huge time sink. There's the researching of the coins themselves, there's the auction previews, checking your favorite marketplaces. If you follow forums and you discuss coins on social media, there's time spent on that, there's price research. It's a bit ironic because the intense intellectual stimulation is what makes this hobby fascinating, but of course the time we spent on it also adds up. And just like with money, attention and time are equally a scarce resource, and if you don't dedicate some of that temporal resource to your spouse and your family, there will be some resentment. And finally, there's the matter of transparency and the feeling of control. These aren't really resources, like the time and money I just mentioned, but they are more like two ways of measuring how well you are managing the expenditure of time and money between your collection and your family. Human beings are incredibly anxious by nature. That's how we managed to survive all of these millennia out there in nature. And we have some anxiety-inducing protocols deeply baked into our brains. Have you ever noticed we have a really hard time accepting we don't know something? We need to find a reason for anything. Let me give you an example. You see a blinking light moving in the night sky. You have no idea what it is, but your brain makes up an explanation. It could be a plane, maybe it's a weather balloon, it's a satellite, it's an alien coming to get you. If something sparks a little bit of interest in your mind, you just can't leave any blanks about that thing without an explanation. And this applies to everything. So, in the case of our relationships with our spouse, or what goes on with our family life and our joint finances, these are some of the most important aspects of our daily life that we just need to feel we have a high degree of control over. And this often leads to a search for transparency. Is it justifiable to seek transparency? I mean, absolute transparency? Maybe not really. I wouldn't feel comfortable disclosing what I spent money on down to my last cent just so my spouse feels warm and fuzzy. There needs to be some boundaries there. But once again, let's have some mercy with one another. We're still a bunch of anxious monkeys in the savannah wondering where that lion that will inevitably eat us is coming from. And of course, it also doesn't help that our first reaction to someone being overly zealous about how and where we spend our money on is to reduce the transparency of our finances, which in turn leads to a loss of that feeling of control in the other person. And I mean, the situation is just awful. I mean, we just don't voice our concerns with each other anymore. So you see that there's a feedback loop there where everyone just feels miserable. You feel like you need to hide your coins, hide your hobby from people, and your spouse feels like there's an erosion of trust between you. It leads to frustration, and then frustration leads to them lashing out on you and putting the blame in your hobby, and in the end everyone is miserable with one another. I don't know, I don't want this kind of experience to you, my viewer, so I would like to invite you to break that cycle. And today's video is brought to you by L5, the new ancient coin marketplace. L5 is a platform developed by coin collectors for coin collectors. It offers the lowest transaction fees on the market, from 5% down to 0. No listing fees or undisclosed reserve prices, and you can choose between buying and selling coins through its auctions or its fixed price lists. The most important idea behind L5 is generating an environment of trust between people. You can buy, you can sell, you can do both if you want to, all within a system of transparency and accountability between its users and the platform. Apart from a lifetime guarantee of authenticity in case any coin sold on L5 turns out to be a counterfeit, the platform works with a group of renowned experts on different fields of ancient numismatics and a body of expert moderators, with the objective of creating an environment of high trust where every single coin is reviewed by more than one person and curated by an input from the community. I think their concept of collaborative accountability, low fees, and transparency is a revolution to the ancient coin market, and I can't recommend the L5 enough. Give them a look. I personally think this is a wonderful concept that the ancient coin market was in need for. Visit l5.com. And I've just went on this very complicated explanation of our innate monkey brain anxiety tendencies and how it manifests in a couple dynamics. However, I think the solution is quite easy. I often get the impression that as a society we have forgotten some of the very basics of human connection. So I'll just give you some simple advice. It can be as simple as starting with a conversation, not a defense argument. Frame it in a simple way like, look, collecting is important to me, it's part of how I relax, it's part of my identity, that's important. Remind them of your uniqueness and how this really matters to you. But we're in this together, I also understand that parts of it might worry you. Can we set up a clear plan so you know the essentials of our family life and our finances are covered, and in exchange I have your trust and a well-defined space to enjoy my collection in peace? So, you see how we're framing this? You're not asking anyone to like your hobby. You are satisfying that anxious monkey that is screaming and kicking deep inside of them. And you are making a very clear line. I mean, here's where I'm allowed to collect in peace, and here's where I compromise with transparency, time, and resources so we can all enjoy a fulfilling relationship. Remember, your coins won't tell you I love you at night when you're going to sleep. And you're not giving ground here. People are important too. It's hard to remember that when we're having such a fun time spending hours with Cleopatra, Mark Antony, or Queen Zenobia. So let's get some basics. A hobby should not be a source of financial stress, and the fun budget comes after all of the real life expenses, and that's just a basic rule every single time. I don't even think I need to tell you that. So start with a simple monthly budget that any functioning adult should have. Clear percentages for savings, at least 6 months of an emergency reserve, then household expenses in order of priority. And it's so easy to set that up nowadays. You can have all of that automated with your bank. The moment your paycheck hits, at least what I do is that all the money gets designated to their specific uses, and you don't even need to worry about seeing the money that goes in maintaining your everyday life. You don't even see that money in your checkings account, and you don't need to worry about spending it on coins. And setting up an automation like this takes just a few minutes. It's really worth the time. And since I just mentioned time, of course we have the issue of time. This is where you could give your spouse and your family at least as much time as your hobby, and probably more. So it could be as simple as matching hobby hours with family hours. And if you are really at a busy time of your life, just put both on a calendar. This is a time for coins, this is a time for family. Really. I mean, all of that sounds so obvious. And also, please, just like you don't want anyone bothering you when you're doing your coin collector stuff, when you're with your family, be fully present. I mean, no browsing auctions in the background, no cataloging of your Denari collection while you're playing with your baby, no live bidding during Sunday lunch with your family. And the main benefit of doing this is because this consistency, this consistent good behavior slowly builds a reputation of trust in your family environment. And this will slowly develop a moral high ground of your collection. Yeah, they would think like, yeah, he spends time with his coins, but hey, he spends time with his family, and this is what should be in their heads, like, okay, he likes his coins, but he's a pretty awesome guy. And I'm giving you this very basic advice, not because this is a channel on finance or couple therapy. I mean, there are lots of YouTubers that do content like that. My point here is, once your finances are solid and you're clearly dedicating attention to your family, meaning you can provide your significant other with that transparency and feeling of control that I mentioned previously, now you have complete moral authority. You're meeting commitments, you're protecting your shared future, you're showing you care about everyone's well-being. So now your hobby purchases require zero apologies or explanation. You have shown with numbers and with time that you're a responsible adult. So get back to enjoying your coins guilt-free. It's their turn to give you the opportunity to enjoy your stuff. So yeah, that's pretty much it. Collect well and love well. And for the love of God, communicate. The whole point of this hobby is to make yourself and your home richer in knowledge, richer in culture, and maybe even richer financially with a non-conventional asset like ancient coins. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed this slightly unusual video. If you did, consider subscribing and leaving a like. Happy collecting, and I'll see you soon. Let me give a special thank you to all of my amazing channel members and Patreons for their generous support. This channel would not be the same without your help. And if you would like to be part of this list, have early access to my videos when they are uploaded to YouTube, and a series of other perks, make sure to check out my Patreon page and my members tab on YouTube. Thank you very much.